Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today we got a bunch of great Commanders content to get to your way here. Over the next hour or so, we're going to be breaking down the latest Commanders trade rumors less than 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline. Then we'll get into my Week 8 preview versus the Chicago Bears. Some very interesting points to break down. And Joey put in the parentheses on the listicle today. Joey, what are we doing? F Joey in the chat for putting in the parentheses. Come on now, Joey. Then we've got the live Q&A coming up later in today's show as well. So if you guys want to get a question on today's Commanders Report live Q&A, make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders down there in the comments section to get your question on the show for free this afternoon. Also, if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show, send in a super chat. There we go. Producer Joey figured it out. He got the parentheses off there. So like I said, guys, go ahead, use hashtag Commanders or super chat to get on the show today. Hopefully we get some good questions today with the trade deadline coming up, all these different things, a bunch of rumors flying around. So if you got any questions for me, let me know down there in the comments section. Hashtag Commanders to get on the show. I want to give a little bit of a shout out here before we bring producer Joey on in just a second here to all the real ones here. Jerry Padilla is here. We got Joe here. We got Jasmine. We've got John Stoyev here. What's up, John? We got Henry Schneider. What's up, Henry? Good to see you. Hassan Bennett. Jasmine is here. Kenny Strauzer's here. What's up, Kenny? We got HTTC Edits. Got Cesar Castillo. We got Terry Maples. We got Jonathan Taylor in the house. We got Cassie, my girlfriend, in the chat. Everyone give Cassie a little bit of a shout out, if you will. JG is here. Junior Estrada is here. Jesse Lamana's here. Got a good crew of Commanders fans here to kick off today's show. Over 100 people in the chat to kick off today's live show. Good crowd here to kick off today's show. Before we get into all of our content today, I do want to give a bit of a shout out here to our Commanders Report Hog Mafia members. These are the people in this community that have put in at least $50 on a singular live show. If you want to join Hog Mafia today, donate $50 via Super Chat, Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal, and you guys get a shout out on every single show. Plus, you get that awesome Hog Mafia sticker next to your Super Chats for life. So really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And if you guys want to send in any donation via Venmo, via Cash App, or via PayPal, you guys can send it in to any of these places right here. So at Jack-Sperry on Venmo, # Captain Jack 19 on Cash App, or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. The reason why I flash these up, guys, is because you guys can super chat if you want, but YouTube does take a 30% cut out of every single super chat you send in. So if you want us to keep more of your donation dollars, you guys can send your donation in via these channels, and we'll still get you up on screen and the whole 9 yards. All right, now, guys, go ahead right now. If you guys have liked today's video, make sure you guys spam me down there in the comment section to get today's show started. Going to give some shout-outs here in just a second, so spam those me's. So let's bring on here our producer, Mr. Joey Petersen. Joey, you screwed up the first listicle of the day, but you know what? Hopefully that's the only thing you mess up on the show today.
I think it is. I just want to say I was sabotaged. I can't say who, and I can't tell you if that's true or not, but that's what I'm claiming. I was sabotaged.
You were sabotaged?
Yep.
Well, I just don't think that that's true at all. I think you just effed up and you're not owning up to it.
I'll leave that up to your interpretation.
Okay.
I'll leave that up to their interpretation as well. But regardless, like the stream, type me. We got Jasmine in here, John, Dennis, Henry, Hassan. We got 40 likes, 140 people watching. Let's see if we can get that to what, Sperry? You think 75?
Let's
50?
get to 50 likes before we get into our first segment. I agree with Jonathan Taylor here. Jonathan says, take accountability for your mistake, Joey. Come on, just own it, all right? Just own the things that you do, okay? That's all I ask.
I was sabotaged. That's what I'm going with.
Okay, we got Jimmy Williams in here. We got John Stoyev. We got BC Grunt. Got Hassan in here. Of course, we got Jonathan Taylor. We got James Smith, Junior Estrada. We got Greg in here. Got a bunch of good people in the chat, man. We got Young Prodigy. We need 4 more likes to get into today's show, guys. We got a bunch of great content coming your way. Some good trade rumors coming up. We're talking a little Colin Cowherd. He said some very interesting things about the Washington Commanders on his show the other day that we're going to be bringing up here. We're 1 like away. I know we got 158 people watching right now. I can see it on my screen. I know for a fact not everybody has clicked that thumbs up icon. So stop holding up the show, man. We've got trade rumors to get to. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon. Help out today's show. And there we go, Joey. We got over 50 likes. So without further ado, I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Let's get into our first segment today. The latest Commanders trade rumors. Just less than 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. Can't believe it. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Commanders trade rumors less than 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline. Can't believe it, man. The trade deadline is pretty much almost already here. There's lots of very interesting things to talk about in terms of the latest trade rumors surrounding the burgundy and gold. Make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's show to see what Colin Cowherd had to say about the Washington Commanders as we approach Week 8 in the 2024 NFL season. Now, before we get into the content today and before we get into the trade rumors, I want you to go ahead and click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show because we are in a like battle with our frenemies here at Chat Sports, our Eagles channel, hosted by Chase Sr. And yesterday, they put up 642 likes on their video. And, Eagles Now host Chase Sr.'s kind of getting in my face the other day here, talking about how the Commanders are the most overrated team in the National Football League, and he challenged us to a like battle. So if we can beat his total yesterday, that would be really, really good. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon. If that's not enough to get you to click that thumbs up icon right now and like today's video, this is what Chase Sr. had to tell me the other day. Sometimes I just laugh when people talk about the Commanders as if they're in the same class as the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is everything they wish Jaden Daniels would be, and that skinny John won't last 2 years in the league without a serious injury. Commanders fans are bitches, all right? So if you guys want to stick it in the face of Chase Sr., our Eagles Now host right now, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now, and let's rack up those like numbers. Okay, let's get into a little bit of an injury update here. Of course, the big story of the week for Washington is whether or not Jaden Daniels is going to play this week against the Chicago Bears, and he did not practice today. If you're watching this later in the week, we did film this video on Wednesday. So as of right now, by the time of me filming this video, Jaden Daniels is not practicing, still dealing with those rib injury that he suffered in Week 7 against the Panthers. And according to Ian Rappaport, as we had discussed yesterday, his status for Week 8 in Chicago is quote-unquote in doubt. So now, we get to Jaden Daniels' update. Now let's get into the trade rumors. And there is a report from The Athletic's Ben Standig that claims that Adam Peters, the GM of the Washington Commanders, might stand pat at the NFL trade deadline this year instead of trading for a player to help out this roster. This is what Standig had to say in his most recent article. Washington isn't one player away from joining the league's top tier, especially on defense, and has several long-term holes. Now, the caveats. If there's a young player GM Adam Peters thinks is worthy of a multi-year contract and valuable draft picks, maybe. Same if the team is at least 6-3 by the deadline, which potentially became trickier with Jaden Daniels' week to week with a rib injury. Make a deal involving late-round picks, swap or straight up for a veteran cornerback or defensive lineman depth. Let's talk. So listen, man, you guys know me, okay? I've been saying for weeks on this channel, this team needs another corner. Plain and simply. If you want to go on any sort of run in the postseason, especially with a first-year playoff quarterback, if you end up making it to the postseason with Jaden Daniels this year, is you're going to have the defense support the offense at least a little bit. In order to do that against playoff-caliber offenses, you have to have a playoff-caliber defense. And the thing that can get this defense closer and closer to a top 10, top 15 kind of level that can be serviceable in a postseason environment, you're going to have to go out and get a big-name corner to be the number one CB in this secondary. And here's some of the top targets that we have talked about on the show. For me personally, I think J.C. Horn is an excellent fit. He's got long arms. He's super physical. He is perfect for that number one press man island type role that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. put Trayvon Diggs in with the Dallas Cowboys. He's young. He's very, very talented. He does have a little bit of an injury concern, but I think he's a perfect fit, and he's worth the gamble for the Washington Commanders if they can get him for the right price. But other options include Jonathan Jones, Greg Newsome, and others, including Marshawn Lattimore around the league. But another position that some Commanders fans want to upgrade a little bit, especially after releasing Jamin Davis yesterday, former first-round pick, is edge rusher. Now, MLL Football here reported yesterday that the Titans, after just trading DeAndre Hopkins, are also looking to shop edge rusher Harold Landry, and apparently multiple people in front offices around the league in the National Football League are linking the Commanders as a potential team that could be interested for Harold Landry, somebody that is a very athletic edge rusher that's been extremely productive, especially recently in his NFL career. And honestly, guys, I don't hate the idea of the Commanders thinking about adding an edge rusher here, especially if they're going to get a corner. Now, obviously, if I only have one position that I'm going to trade for, I'm going to trade for a corner. But if you can potentially get both, especially at the right price, I'm absolutely open to that idea. So let's talk about Harold Landry and what he could bring to the table here in Washington. He's 28 years old. He's got very good size, a very good athlete, very explosive off the jump, and then also he's got 3 years left on his current contract, including this year. So if you trade for him, you don't have to give him a new contract. He's already got the contract situation figured out. We'll talk about his cap hits here in just a second, but he's also highly effective. He's good in both the run and passing phases on the outside. And if the Commanders want to put somebody on their starting defensive line here and get a true number one guy, I think Harold Landry would be your number one guy in this rotation right now if you ended up making a trade for him. Take a look at his sacks here and his production over the last 4 years. He had that torn ACL in 2022, but over the last 2 seasons, he's been fully healthy and he's been pretty darn good. Double-digit sacks last year in 2023. Back in 2021, he put up 12 sacks and 14 TFLs. Right now, he already has 7 TFLs in 6 games plus 4 sacks. So Landry has been a very, very good player for the Tennessee Titans. And now that it looks like Tennessee is going to be embracing a full rebuild, maybe they feel like for the right price, Harold Landry is somebody that they'd be willing to let go of. The remaining base salaries on his contract, guys, for this season, $17.25 million, but that's going to be prorated. Some of that has already been paid because of the games he's already played for the Tennessee Titans. So depending on when the Commanders end up potentially making a trade for him, it's going to be a lot less than that. It's going to be about half of that $17.25 million number, a little bit more than half. And then 2025 and in 2026, his base salary is $17.5 million. He doesn't have a roster bonus or anything like that. So pretty reasonable price here. $17.5 million over the next 2 years for somebody that is in the prime of their career. He's a double-digit sack guy, and he can certainly help this team try to win a Super Bowl in the years to come. And for me personally, man, I'd offer a 4th-round pick. That's at least where I would start the negotiations. If they want maybe like a pick swap for like a 3rd and a 5th or something like that, a 3rd and a 4th, something like that, I'd certainly be willing to negotiate if I were GM Adam Peters to get Harold Landry at the right price. Now, if they're saying we're not trading him unless we get a 1st or a 2nd-round pick, then I'm probably hanging up the phone. But for the right price, I'm absolutely interested in Harold Landry because I think that this defense could certainly use a top-flight edge rusher that can get double-digit sacks like Harold Landry can. Now, let's take a look here at some other edge rushers that could be traded to the Washington Commanders. Josh Uche from the New England Patriots is somebody to keep your eye on. Very athletic, kind of outside linebacker type. You got Zadarius Smith from Cleveland that I think would be a very good scheme fit here in Washington. Keep your eye on Zadarius Smith as a potential option. Azeez Ojulari, because it is from a division rival there with the Giants, I'd say is probably a little bit less likely. But hey, man, we traded Jahan Dotson to the Eagles, and these in-division trades are happening more often. And then I know Hassan Reddick just reworked his deal with the New York Jets to play this year, but that's a team that could certainly be selling at the deadline, sitting at 2-5. Maybe their season is starting to kind of devolve, and I think for the right price, I do think they'd probably be willing to let go of Hassan Reddick if the Washington Commanders were interested in him. But when it comes to Harold Landry, let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you make this trade? Type A if you would accept it, or type D if you're going to decline it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to be telling you about my friends at Fanatics. And while we're going down there, and while I'm talking about Fanatics, I should say, go ahead and put your answer to today's pinned comment. Now, coming up here, what did Colin Cowherd say about the Washington Commanders? Well, we're going to be breaking it down here on the show in just a second. But first, let's talk about Fanatics, man, because you know what I love about Dan Quinn is that he's not afraid to be himself. Colin Cowherd is somebody that hates it when starting quarterbacks and head coaches wear backwards hats. Guess what Dan Quinn does, man? He wears that backwards hat, and he is among the best coaches in the National Football League today, man. So if you want to rock that Dan Quinn backwards hat look and stick it in the face of Colin Cowherd, you guys can do that on Commanders game days this year when you go to chatsports.com/DQ, where you can get this awesome and affordable Commanders ball cap from our friends at Fanatics. And also it helps out the show, guys. So when you use that link, chatsports.com/DQ, and you make a purchase, we get part of the proceeds. So if you want to get a Washington Commanders ball cap today so you can wear it DQ style backwards on game days, and you want to help out the channel, you guys can go to chatsports.com/DQ to get that done right now. So now let's talk about Colin Cowherd here, man. And I teased it at the beginning of the show, but he praised the Washington Commanders and Dan Quinn, the backwards hat-wearing head coach, earlier this week on his show. This is what Colin had to say about the Commanders. The Commanders are doing everything right. They have the number 1 point differential in the NFL. That's something. That's usually a team that ends up in a conference championship. Now, that point differential definitely helps when you beat the Carolina Panthers by 33 points, all right? So that's worth mentioning, that 33-point deficit certainly helps where the Commanders currently sit in that particular statistic. But the big question here that he raises is, could the Washington Commanders potentially make an NFC Championship game this year, especially if they continue to absolutely put a walloping on teams like the Cardinals? And, they've scored a lot of points against Cincinnati, and they absolutely killed the Carolina Panthers. If they continue to do that kind of stuff, man, I absolutely think it's a potential option for this team to make the NFC Championship game. You guys have heard me talk about on the show why I think Super Bowl might be a little bit out of the question for the Commanders, especially if they don't make a big-time move or two at the trade deadline on defense. Especially with a first-year playoff quarterback. Your head coach is in here for the first year. The numbers and the history of the NFL don't bode well for teams like the Commanders in the postseason. But right now they're playing great football, and they can beat anybody on any given Sunday. So absolutely, I think it's a possibility. Is it a likelihood they make the NFC Championship game? I would say NFL history probably says no, but is it a possibility? I would say absolutely yes, especially if they make some of the moves that we talked about earlier in today's show at the NFL trade deadline. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Can the Commanders make an NFC Championship game this year? Is this team capable of doing something like that? Give me a yes or a no on today's program. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. That's going to be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got a bunch of great Commanders trade content coming your way here, getting you guys ready for the NFL trade deadline. And of course, if there's breaking news and the Commanders end up making a trade, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as we possibly can right here on the channel for free. So if you want breaking news Commanders content all year round, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. And until next time, go raise some hail. First segment in the books, Mr. Joey. And coming up, we got the Commanders Week 8 preview. I kind of like the preview photo this week, Joey, with the orange and the yellow. It pops a little bit.
I also love that Bears logo. I think that's a really cool looking logo.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool logo as well. The C I don't like as much. I think that's a super basic logo. Obviously it's iconic because of the 85 Bears, and that's the logo they've pretty much always had. But I like the Bear logo for Chicago a little bit more. But very interesting matchup that we're going to be getting into here in just a second. But here's another reminder to you guys, where if you guys want to get on the show, you guys want to get right next to me here on screen on today's mailbag, you guys can use hashtag Commanders along with your question in the chat. So for example, you go down there in the live chat, you put hashtag Commanders. Will Washington make a trade before the trade deadline? All right, and you put that question in the chat. Joey's going to be able to find it, and we'll put it up on the show for free for you guys. And if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show, you guys can super chat any amount, $1, $2, $5, doesn't really matter. If you guys super chat your question, we'll make sure and guarantee that your question gets on the mailbag later in today's show. So right now we got 242 people watching on a Wednesday here, Joe. We got a good crowd here talking some Commanders football, man. So without further ado, let's get into our next segment here after I take a little bit of a drink. Talked about trade rumors, and now we're going to be getting into Week 8 preview versus the Chicago Bears. Very interesting matchup. Can't wait to break down keys to victory, Caleb Williams scouting report, the whole 9 yards. It's all coming at you right now. The Washington Commanders will travel to the Windy City this week to Soldier Field to take on Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft in Week 8. And, man, I think this is a very intriguing matchup. And, honestly, man, you're looking at these two teams, very hot football teams, looking to continue on their very impressive 2024 campaigns after being the bottom of the league in 2024. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Over the next about 15 minutes or so, we'll be breaking down this matchup, keys to victory, Caleb Williams' scouting report, team trends, all that great stuff, getting you guys ready for this Week 8 matchup. But before we get into all that, we're going through a little bit of a subscriber battle this week with our Bears Now channel here at Chat Sports and their host, Harrison Graham. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got in-depth previews and in-depth Commanders videos right here on the channel every single day. And if that's not enough to get you to click that subscribe button, this is what Harrison Graham had to say on his Twitter just yesterday. It's unclear if Jaden Daniels will play against the Bears this week as he's dealing with a rib injury. But if he does play, when given the opportunity, the Bears need to hit him hard and make him feel contact. Daniels has not played a defense of Chicago's caliber yet. So, sorry, Harrison, that kind of sounds like Bounty Gate to me a little bit there, buddy. Wanting to hit an injured quarterback right in the ribs. I mean, come on now. Are we cheering for injury? I'm personally not. But here, this is what he had to tell me today. He had a special message that he wanted to send to the Commanders Report faithful. Here it is.
All right, Commanders fans, we've all been waiting for this matchup, and you guys have been in my DMs a little bit too much this week. Y'all act like I put out Bountygate 2.0 on Jaden Daniels if he plays. It's not what I'm saying, but hey, if he runs around recklessly and he plays, yeah, put him on the ground. That's what I'm saying from a Bears standpoint. Caleb Williams first pick, Jaden second. We know who's going to finish on top. Bear down, baby.
As you guys can see, man, he's got a pretty big mouth, all right? So let's shut it for him right now. Click that subscribe button. We're only trailing them by about 20 subscribers, all right? So if we get a good 50, 60 people to click that subscribe button right now, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's beat the Bears this week and click that subscribe button. Okay, now let's get into the football here. A great matchup in Chicago between the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, and maybe number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels. At least we hope Jaden is able to go this week. At the time of me recording this video, he has not practiced to this point in the week, so we'll see how his status looks as the week progresses. If he can't go, it will be Marcus Mariota getting his first start with the Washington Commanders. Right now, the Commanders sitting at 5-2, and the Bears coming off their bye, sitting at 4-2 and 3 straight wins. All right, so let's take a look at the Chicago Bears and what you can expect from them schematically. Okay, their head coach is Matt Eberflus. His career record as the Chicago Bears head coach is 14-26, not so great, but he's also their defensive play caller, and he runs a 4-2 balanced type of system, lots of nickel, all right? So you're going to see 5 defensive backs out there, 4 down linemen, and then 2 linebackers out there, at least 95% of the defensive snaps, okay? So that's what they like to run here, like to do a lot of cover 2, so be on the lookout for that schematically on Sunday, and then also on offense, they brought in Shane Waldron to be their new OC this year. He runs a 3rd-generation West Coast offense, kind of in the vein of a Sean McVay style of offense here in Chicago with Caleb Williams throwing the football. So far this year, the results for Chicago, they have 4 wins, and all of them are against really bad football teams, all right? So they've beaten the Titans, the Rams, the Panthers, and the Jaguars. You can make an argument those are the 4 of like the 5 worst teams in the National Football League, and then they lost to the Texans, and they've lost to a bad team in the Colts as well. So to this point, Chicago hasn't really been tested against good football teams other than the Texans, and they ended up losing that football game. But there's no doubt about it, man. On offense, at the skill positions, they have a ton of talent. Caleb Williams, we're going to get into his scouting report later. Super talented quarterback, maybe the most talented, just pure talent quarterback we have ever seen enter the NFL draft this early into his football career. DeAndre Swift, their running back, has really gotten hot over the last several weeks. DJ Moore is their number 1 receiver that they locked up to a long-term contract this offseason. And then their secondary receivers in Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze, very big, very good route runners, very physical type wide receivers. So they have a ton of skill talent on this offense in Chicago right now. But then let's go to the offensive line and in the trenches here, where this group really struggled to start the season, but they have bounced back to have a pretty decent kind of start to their 2024 campaign. where they're doing a pretty decent job over the last several weeks, but they haven't really been challenged. Like we've talked about, they haven't had to play, a high-level competition here. So if the Commanders can get to this group and make Caleb Williams uncomfortable, they can certainly be effective on defense. You take a look here at the team trends this year between the Bears offense and the Commanders defense. Pretty evenly matched, I would have to say. The kind of the areas where I think Chicago has a bit of an advantage is in the red zone, where they rank 3rd and the Commanders rank 29th. And then in turnovers, where the Commanders defense doesn't really turn the ball over all that much. They're in the bottom 3rd of the league in that category, and then the Bears are in the top 3rd in protecting the football right now. So I think that those are probably the two areas that kind of stick out to me. But the fact that they're 12th in points per game and only 28th in yards per play tells me that this Bears defense and the turnovers they're generating is giving them opportunities to score. And then Caleb Williams and the Bears are doing a good job capitalizing on those opportunities in the red zone. So the points per game trends here between the Bears offense and the Commanders defense points to about 23 points for Chicago on Sunday. All right, so keep that in mind here for Chicago's side. And now let's shift over to the other side of the ball for the Bears defense, where I think the key pieces for them are Jalen Johnson, who is probably the most underrated corner, maybe defensive player in the National Football League. I think he's a top 5, if not top 3, shutdown, number 1 lockdown corner in the National Football League. Montez Sweat, Commanders fans are very familiar with his talents on the edge. And then Kevin Byard has been a huge free agency pickup for them this year. He's one of the highest graded free safeties in the National Football League to kick off this year. Take a look at the trends here. Obviously, the Commanders' offense has been highly potent this year, but the Bears' defense has also been extremely well played, man. Like, I think the lowest here is 7th in third down percentage, and that's about as low as their trends go here in terms of their rankings. They're a bona fide top 10 defense. They're borderline top 5 for sure. They're 4th in scoring defense right now. So this is definitely going to be a tough unit to crack, and it's going to be a really good litmus test for this Commanders offense to see if this offense is really the real deal. Take a look at the points per game trends here. The Commanders are really doing a good job here at 31.1 points per game. That's 2nd in the National Football League right now. And then the Bears are sitting at 16.8. Like we said, that's 4th in the league. So let's take a look here at the trends and what they predict for this football game. It predicts about 24 points for the Commanders. So we combine that with the 23 points projected for the Chicago Bears, and it's projecting an extremely tight 24-23 win for the Commanders. And honestly, that's within the margin of error when you're looking at points per game trends. That's not even mentioning, by the way, the fact that Jaden Daniels might not play for the Washington Commanders here. And if it's Marcus Mariota getting the start instead of Daniels, who has been the quarterback for most of this season for Washington, you can throw Washington's offensive trends out the window. However, Marcus Mariota did play very efficiently for this football team against the Carolina Panthers at home last week. Over 73% completion percentage, over 200 yards. He had a successful 2-minute drill, and he threw multiple touchdowns, was making some nice throws in the middle of the field, some nice throws on the run, protected the football well. There's a lot of good things to say about Marcus Mariota and his performance against the Panthers, but honestly, man, that's the worst defense in football right now. You're going up against a top 5 unit on the road this week. That's going to be a whole nother challenge if Mariota needs to be the quarterback for the Washington Commanders this week. Now, still to come here on the Commanders Report, keys to victory versus the Chicago Bears. I've got 4 of them that the Commanders need to get done this week in order to secure victory. Then we'll get into Caleb Williams' full scouting report, let you guys know how the Commanders can limit Caleb Williams' effect on this football game. And then I got my official Week 8 score prediction for Commanders versus Bears coming up here in just a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And if you want to be rocking the Dan Quinn backwards hat look on Commanders game days this year, and you want to help out the channel, this is your opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here by going to chatsports.com/DQ. If you use that link and you purchase this awesome and really affordable Commanders ball cap here to wear on Commanders game days this year, we're going to get part of the proceeds from our friends at Fanatics. So go to chatsports.com/DQ right now. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. With that, let's get back to the video. So now let's get into some of my keys to victory here. I got 4 of them for the Commanders. And the first one is to win the line of scrimmage on defense. Now, obviously, you want to win the line of scrimmage in every game that you play on both sides of the ball. But I think in this game in particular, on defense, you have to be able to win this matchup in order to win. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because when you put pressure on Caleb Williams, he's not nearly as good as when he has a clean pocket and he has time to throw. So you take a look at my scouting report on Caleb Williams. I was very, very high on Caleb Williams coming out of USC. I am on record saying that he was the most pro-ready and best quarterback prospect I have ever evaluated, and that includes Jaden Daniels, and I was very high on Jaden. I called Jaden a future MVP candidate, and I love these 2 quarterbacks. Hopefully Jaden can play so we can see this awesome matchup unfold. But when it comes to Caleb Williams, man, the pocket presence is about as good as I've ever seen on film of a college prospect, and it's still very good in the league. Also, the arm talent is about as good as you're going to see anywhere on the planet Earth today. He can make any throw from any platform, from any arm angle, so he can definitely slice and dice you no matter what his body positioning is. His playmaking out of structure is world-class already at such a young age, and then he's a plus rusher as well, so if there's nothing downfield, he's not afraid to go ahead and tuck the ball and run. But the cons is that he has that inconsistent accuracy, especially early on in the season. He's gotten a little bit better in that regard in recent weeks, and then the mental processing and decision-making stuff is still a little bit of a work in progress for Caleb Williams, as he's still having some of those rookie hiccups at this point in his career. He's definitely an up-and-coming star quarterback, in my opinion. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback in this league for a very, very long time, but he's not a top 5 guy right now, especially because he's still learning how to handle pressure at the NFL level. And I think if the Commanders can go ahead and get that pressure on Caleb Williams, he's going to struggle, because that's what he's shown so far in his NFL career. You know, when he has time to throw, when the pressure isn't getting to his lap, he's doing a very good job now, deciphering where to go with the ball. He's very accurate, but when you put pressure on him, he does tend to panic a little bit, especially if he's unable to get outside the pocket. So whatever Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn need to do to get pressure on Caleb Williams, they need to do it, whether it's stunts in games, whether it's blitzing, no matter what they got to do, you got to put pressure on Caleb, or else he's going to utilize the vast amount of weapons that he has in his disposal in the wide receiver room. Then also another reason why you got to win at the line of scrimmage is to limit the run game. DeAndre Swift has been really, really good over the last several weeks. He had kind of a slow start when the offensive line wasn't winning the line of scrimmage, but now that they've played better during this 3-game win streak, DeAndre Swift's been a big part of their offense, and he has really helped Caleb Williams settle in because the run game has gotten going, all right? So if the Commanders can limit Swift's impact in this football game, it's going to make Caleb Williams kind of put the onus on him to put this team on his back and put that offense on his back, and to this point, he hasn't been able to do that. Now, when it comes to the offense for the Washington Commanders, you got to protect the football in this football game in order to win. All right, the Chicago Bears are a team to this point in the year that have done a really good job in taking advantage of turnovers. All right, we looked at the trends earlier for Chicago, how their points per game is relatively high, and then their yards per play is a lot lower. So that tells me that this defense is creating turnovers, creating very nice opportunities for this, short yardage opportunities for this offense to work in, and then they've been really efficient in the red zone. So what the Commanders need to do is not give them those opportunities. Force Caleb Williams in this offense to go on long drives, to be methodical, all these different things. And, if Washington has multiple turnovers, if Marcus Mariota throws 2 or 3 picks or fumbles the football multiple times, it's not going to be good for the Commanders, and Chicago's probably going to be able to take advantage of those turnovers, all right? So that's a very key portion of this football game, whether it's Jaden Daniels on the field on Sunday or Marcus Mariota. No matter who's handling the football, they got to be able to protect it, because if they don't, the Bears are going to be victorious this week. Another key to victory on offense is to spread the ball around, okay? And the reason why I say that is because, like I said earlier, Jalen Johnson is one of, if not the best corner in football right now, man. He doesn't get enough love for how good this brother is. He is so freaking good. And, Terry McLaurin is going to be the guy that he's on. And I just think that, Jalen's going to be able to take him away for most of this football game. So you take a look at what Washington has to work with. They got guys like Noah Brown, De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus. They've got Luke McCaffrey. They got a lot of people at their disposal, okay? And, not to mention, you've got some pretty good backs in Brian Robinson Jr. and Mr. Austin Eckler, not to mention Jeremy McNichols, who has had a very good year. You just got to share the sugar a little bit here, man. You can't get too honed in on Terry McLaurin, in my opinion, because Jalen Johnson is going to be like bubblegum on him, man. He's going to stick to him. So the Commanders have done a really good job getting the ball to guys like Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey in the run game and doing a good job spreading things out this year. They need to continue to do that this week because I do think Jalen Johnson is going to do a little bit of a number on Terry McLaurin. It doesn't mean that Terry won't get open from time to time and you can throw it to him on occasion. It's just not going to be a complete dominating performance, and you're going to need other people to help out in the passing game if you want to win this football game. Then the final key to victory here is you got to make the play late. So if you do all three of the first things here, I think you're at least going to be in the football game in the fourth quarter. If that's the case, Marcus Mariota, Jaden Daniels, whoever's quarterbacking this team, no matter who's on the field on Sunday, needs to make that big play. Whether that's a big interception, a strip sack fumble, a big touchdown pass down the field, a big run from B-Rob or Austin Eckler. There's usually a play to be made that really decides any football game in the fourth quarter. I think that the team that ends up making that play is going to win this game. Now, unfortunately, I don't think the Commanders are going to be that team to make that big play. The Bears are home. Right now, if I have to make a score prediction, I would have to say Caleb Williams and the Red Hot Bears at home are going to win just because I'm not sure if Jaden's going to play. And if it's Marcus Mariota, going up against this really tough Bears defense, I think that the Commanders offense can do fine. 23 points is nothing to, wipe your nose at or anything like that. It's not a terrible performance from Marcus Mariota. But this is certainly a Commanders defense that has shown some holes at times. We know that Jonathan Allen is out for the season. Now they've had some players show some good things. Frankie Louvu's been a great blitzer. Dante Fowler Jr. has been getting pressure as of late. So I don't think it's impossible that they get to Caleb Williams a couple of times. But I do think that Chicago is feeling really good right now. They're coming off the bye, so they're fresh. They're in front of their home crowd. And I think they win a relatively close one here, 27-23. But if Jaden Daniels plays, I might change this prediction before we kick off on Sunday. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the score of Commanders versus Bears down there in the comment section. I have 27-23 Chicago. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We have in-depth previews like this every single week right here on the Commanders Report. Plus we have live watch parties. We're going to be going live this weekend. When we play the Bears, during the week here. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, go raise some hail. All right, so that is our second vid of the day. Joey, we are going to be getting into... Okay, so we have some news around the league. Hassan Reddick's rework contract details are out.
What's it at? Also... made a mistake on that matchup, and they're putting out here, the game is in Washington, not Chicago.
Is it in Chicago?
It is.
It's in... Oh.
Because I looked up Bears versus Commanders, and it pulled up another thing, and then people were in the comment section saying that it was in Washington, and I was like, are we sure? And I looked it up, and sure enough.
Oh. Well, that's my bad. Why did I think it was in Chicago?
Hey, that was both of us.
Yeah, I mean, we both thought it was in Chicago. So that's on me, man. That's actually bad on me. So apologies for that.
Yes.
And honestly, I think that does bode well for Marcus Mariota a little bit here.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that actually makes a lot of sense. God, F Sperry in the chat.
And F Joey. F us both.
All right, so we got a question. We got a Q&A portion coming up here. If you guys got a question, use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show. So let's make it happen. How are we doing on questions here, Joey?
We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We have 2. So, not enough. So, what we need you guys to do, we're going to put the clock on. I'm going to start a timer for 2 minutes. I need at least, 3 more questions?
All right, we need at least 3 more questions to make this mailbag here. We got 2 of them right now, so you guys can use hashtag Commanders and put any question you want in there, and we'll put it up on the show for free.
Could be trade deadline, could be, I don't know, anything you want. Any rumor, anything about Jaden Daniels, anything about anybody. I don't know. It's y'all's call. The world is your oyster. Commander's Report is your oyster. That's what we like to say. So far, we got 2 awesome questions. They're coming in from Johnny Dodger and Edward Chandler. And also, we got one from Demarius Young. There we go.
Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Help us get to 200 likes today, man. We got over 300 people watching live around the world right now. Pretty good audience today here, Joey.
There we go.
Okay. Bello Boker, guys, a good question here. Can't wait to answer that one. We got a couple more questions coming in. I think we have enough now.
Yeah, I agree. Do you, can you send me a Prize Picks photo real quick?
I think there was one in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we'll get into our Q&A here in just a second here, folks. Thank you for your patience. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon. If you got a question, it's not too late. You guys can put #Commanders down there in the live chat, and we'll answer your questions.
The most recent one I can find in there is from before Monday Night Football. Jimmy.
What's that, sorry?
The most recent one I can find in there is from before Monday Night Football.
Yeah, let's just.
I'll make one.
Yeah, make one.
Yeah, I'll make one real quick.
Oh, I see Tonio's asking, can we get Hopkins from the Titans? He's a Kansas City Chief, buddy.
Yep.
It was announced this morning, DeAndre Hopkins going to the Kansas City Chiefs for a conditional 5th-round pick. So that is a 5th-round pick that can turn into a 4th-round pick if he plays 60% of Kansas City's offensive snaps this year, or they make the Super Bowl, I think is the 2 conditions there. And I think that Tennessee is eating a little bit of his contract as well, Joey. So that's a very interesting trade. I mean, if Kansas City three-peats and DeAndre Hopkins is a big reason why they three-peat, I think a lot of people around the National Football League are going to be very upset with the Tennessee Titans for dealing D-Hop to Kansas City for just a 5th-round pick. Well, I guess if they make the Super Bowl, then it would be a 4th-round pick at that point.
Yes, it would be. But still, man, I don't know why anybody trades to the Chiefs anymore. Especially because, 5th-round pick, I don't know. Would you have rather given up a 5th for D-Hop or a 2nd for a guy like Cooper Kupp?
If you were the Chiefs?
If you're the Chiefs.
Well, I'll say this. I'm happy that the Chiefs didn't get Cooper Kupp. Because with Kupp's ability to get open, particularly in the middle of the field, his route running, his versatility to play outside, inside, and even in the backfield, I mean, Andy Reid would have had an absolute field day with Cooper Kupp. DeAndre Hopkins is like a true X-receiver.
Yes.
He's going to be, his route tree is definitely more limited. The ways that you can use him are a bit more limited than a guy like Cooper Kupp. So even though he's a dog, he can get those 50-50 balls. He's going to be a red zone threat for them. I don't know if he necessarily adds any level of one-play touchdown ability like maybe Cooper Kupp could potentially provide for the Kansas City Chiefs if he was there. Cooper Kupp's going to be interesting here. Because is he going to go to the Bucs? Is he going to go to the Steelers? Is he going to go maybe to the Chargers and stay in LA? Right now, I know the Steelers are the betting favorite at -125, so the betting markets clearly think he's going to Pittsburgh, and they could certainly use a receiver right now, but it's going to be interesting, man. Definitely for sure.
Where do you think there's a chance? What do you think the chance is that he just stays put?
It's not zero.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, sounds like he's going to be playing tomorrow when the Rams play the Vikings. And if that's the case, it's possible he gets hurt. If he gets hurt, then he has to stay put. Then also, if they win, I believe they're in first place, I think they are in first place in the NFC West.
Let me give you an update right now, because I think the Seahawks are on top. They are 4-3. The Rams are 2-4.
Oh, so they would be second then.
They would be second, yes.
So honestly, man, if they get to 3-4 and they somehow beat like a really good Vikings team tomorrow, they might just say, you know what? If we can beat the Vikings, we can beat anybody else. And right now, we're knocking right on the door of the division. Maybe they just don't end up trading. So I don't think it's a zero possibility that they end up keeping him. But why go public with the fact that you're shopping him if there's any possibility that you feel like that you're going to keep him?
Yeah, that's fair. It's so funny. That division, I could see a world where every single one of those teams wins. Maybe not the Cardinals as much as the others, but like 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, I could see all three of those winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get into this Q&A right now, guys. I really do appreciate your guys' patience, your support. So let's get into it right now. Let's get to your questions. Welcome into the Commanders Report mailbag. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today I get to answer your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. It's my favorite segment to do every week, man, because I get to hear from you guys. You guys tell me what you want me to talk about. If you have questions on the stuff I'm talking about, I get to provide some clarity, answer some questions, and I really just enjoy having this kind of conversation with you guys every single week. Now, if you're watching this, you're not watching it on the live show. If you guys want to get your questions on the show in the future, we go live every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys want to join us, you want to get your questions on the show, and you guys can get on screen and the whole 9 yards here for free, you guys can click that subscribe button, join us on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, and join us for Commanders Report live shows. So with that, let's get into our questions today, starting with Garrison Barfield saying, do you think Jaden Daniels will play even though he's doubtful? Right now, like you said, it's not looking great. Ian Rappaport did say that he is in doubt to play in Week 8 versus the Bears. He did not practice on Wednesday. Now, this is going to be coming out, I think, either Friday or Saturday. So it's possible that by the time this video comes out, Jaden is practicing. He has a better chance to play. So we'll see how this progresses throughout the week. But at the time of me recording this on Wednesday, it's not looking too good. Then we got one from Johnny Dodger. What's up, Johnny? Says, what should Washington give up for J.C. Horn? I would personally be willing to give up as much as a third-round pick. All right, J.C. is really, really a good player. I've said it on the show before. He's got long arms, very strong physical corner that's very physically gifted. I compared his skill set to Jalen Ramsey when he was coming out, and he has shown flashes of that Jalen Ramsey-esque kind of skill set in the National Football League. Now, he's had some injuries. Is he ever going to be the kind of player that he could have been if he didn't have some of those really serious knee injuries that he had? Who knows? But I've seen Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. take a guy with a similar skill set in Trayvon Diggs in Dallas and turn him into one of the best and most productive corners in the National Football League within this system. Down there, down south against the Cowgirls, or with the Cowgirls, I should say. So J.C. Horn, I think, could absolutely be a game changer on defense for this Commanders team. I think his skill set is perfect for the defense that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. like to play. Very in your face, very aggressive, very man heavy, very go out and make turnovers. J.C. Horn is the exact type of player that I think fits in this defensive scheme. Then we got Quan Din. I love that name, man. Says, I hear Cooper Kupp is available. Crazy to inquire about his status. Maybe not crazy, maybe see what the Rams want for him, but it sounds like they want a second-round pick and they might take a third-round pick for him. Is it that pressing of a need for Washington to trade a second or third-round pick for a wide receiver? I would argue no. This is already arguably the most potent offense in the league without Cooper Kupp. And even though Kupp is a great talent and all this different stuff, I just really don't think Washington is all too interested in trading for a wide receiver. I think if you're going to trade for a big-name receiver, you would have done it with Brandon Ayuk because he has already built-in chemistry with Jaden Daniels, and they decided not to pursue Brandon Ayuk in any really serious way. So I can't really expect Cooper Kupp to be in that same vein, at least in my opinion. But personally, man, I think you go out and make a trade for a corner, and you maybe even make a trade for an edge rusher, and you try to make this defense better. I think the offense is already set. So who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comment section. Who's a player you're hoping the Commanders trade for this year? Let me know when you guys. Let me know for today's pinned comment. For me personally, I would love J.C. Horn. We talked about him earlier. I think he's young. I think that he is very physical. I think he's a perfect fit for this defense. So that's my guy. Let me know your guy down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Going from Mary or Mari. whichever one it is. It says, do you think the Commanders will trade for an edge rusher at the deadline? Certainly possible. We discussed it a little bit earlier in the week. There's definitely quite a few edge rushers that could be dealt before the deadline. Now, will the Commanders really prioritize that? We'll see. They did just release Jamin Davis. So it's going to be interesting here. I would personally love to see this team add an edge rusher. Somebody like a Harold Landry, maybe somebody somebody else, maybe like a Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns would be a very fun idea. But then also, I want them to get a corner. And if I have to pick between corner or edge rusher right now, I'm definitely going with the corner. Then we go on from Demarius Young, says, what do you think of Mike Williams coming to DC? So Demarius, kind of like Cooper Kupp, I just don't really think that the Commanders need a receiver. And honestly, I think that Noah Brown plays kind of the role that Mike Williams would play here, only better. They're kind of bigger receivers. And I think Noah Brown does everything Mike Williams can do, and he does it honestly even better. And then he does other things even better than Mike Williams. I think he's a much better route runner, much better separator. He's better after the catch, in my opinion. So Mike Williams is a big name. Lots of people know it because he played for the Chargers for all those years. Pretty productive player, Pro Bowler, all these different things. But right now, I think the Commanders are good. Don't think they want to spend any draft capital on a receiver. Now, before we get into the rest of today's questions, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports right on your phone. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, especially now because the NBA season is just starting. And right now they have a special promotion where if Anthony Edwards just scores 1 point, that's an easy square to win, and it's automatic. So Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with our friends at Prize Picks. Let's take a look at my most recent Prize Picks projection for this week's matchups here. We're going to go with the more on Kyren Williams tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football with the Goblin promotion right there. Just has to score a touchdown. Then I'll take the more on Joe Mixon rushing yards for the Houston Texans. And then I'll take the more on Cooper Kupp touchdowns here and for Thursday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. So you guys can download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Got one from C Breezy. What's up, C Breeze? Says, would you consider Marcus Mariota a top 5 backup QB in the NFL today? I think you can put certain people in this category, and I think that, after Marcus's performance against Carolina, he's certainly in that discussion. Especially if he goes out this week against Chicago and really puts on a good performance against a top 5 scoring defense. I think that's probably going to solidify him as one of the top backup options in the National Football League. Now, last week, very good performance, but it was against a really, really bad defense in Carolina that, let's face it, was kind of giving up towards the end of the game. So, relatively easy stuff, especially at home for Marcus Mariota. This week, it's going to be a much bigger challenge going up against the Chicago team this week. I'm hoping that he really solidifies himself as one of the top backups this week. But C Breezy, I want to see at least one more week before I say he's top 5 backup in the NFL. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Is Marcus Mariota a top 5 backup QB in the NFL today? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We got one from JG. Says, Commanders, did Marcus's game surprise you as much as it did me? Yeah, 100% JG. Even going back to when the Commanders signed Marcus Mariota in free agency, I'm like, I don't even like this guy as a backup quarterback. Now, I feel a lot better about him now after seeing him play against an actual NFL team. He had a successful 2-minute drill. He had multiple touchdown passes. He was making some tight window throws in the middle of the field, made some throws on the run. He did some very impressive stuff last week against the Carolina Panthers that have me thinking he's a very solid NFL backup for sure. And if he can get the win as the starter this week, if he ends up playing against Chicago, I mean, goodness gracious, that's going to solidify him not only as the Commanders' like really, really good backup quarterback this year, but a potential kind of bridge starter for a different franchise down the road if he continues to play well. So make sure you guys like today's video if you want to win in Week 8. I know I personally want to see this Commanders team, whether it's Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota under center, beat up on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. So if you're with me there and you want the Commanders to win, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. Got Greg Berlanga here. Says, do you think we can make it to the second round of the playoffs? What percentage do you think we can make it? So good question here, Greg. I do think they can make it to the second round of the playoffs. Last year, the Houston Texans won a playoff game last year, and I look at the Commanders in a very similar vein to what the Houston Texans were able to do last year. They both have established, young rookie star quarterbacks, kind of a roster that maybe is incomplete, first-year head coaches. There's a lot of similarities between the Texans last year and the Commanders this year, and I think they could share that similarity of winning a playoff game if they face a certain type of wild card opponent in the first round. So my guess is at this point that they're going to win the division, and if that's the case, they're going to have a home playoff game. And, you're going to be playing against a wild card team that maybe isn't the best football team overall. So I definitely think the Commanders can win a playoff game this year. The percentage on that, right now I'd probably put it at like 55-60% chance they win a playoff game this year. And I think that's pretty darn good. Now, if you're going to be progressing to more than that, multiple playoff wins, Super Bowl, I think the percentage goes down quite considerably. But could they win a playoff game this year? I think absolutely. Then we go on from Bello Boker, says, do you think this will make do you think that we will make a move for a cornerback before the deadline? I sure hope so, man. I really, really hope that Adam Peters sees the writing on the wall here. I think that here on the channel, we kind of saw that this team could have really used Stephon Gilmore. So I don't know why they didn't end up signing him. He is having a great season with the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he'd be having a great season here. But right now, you got Benjamin St-Juste and Mike Sainristil as your two starting cornerbacks, and Mike has really been coming along here. I've been really impressed with the way that he's been playing these last several weeks, and Benjamin is fine. But Noah Igbenogany is just not really a starting quality corner in this league, even though he's a really high-effort player, and I appreciate him. I do think that you really want to get another outside cornerback to put Mike Sainristil back to where he plays his best football, which is in the slot. And honestly, Benjamin St-Juste isn't a number one guy either. So if you can get a legit number one cornerback to bring in here at the deadline, I say that's the number one move that the Commanders need to make. Then we've gone from Pitbull, says, I think Dan Quinn should be the favorite to be the coach of the year at this point. Do you agree? I actually do agree with this. I think there's a lot of great coaches that are in consideration for this. Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings, Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions, I think is another one. Like, there's a lot of people in this league, a lot of head coaches that I think deserve, consideration here. But Dan Quinn took a team that was drafting second in the NFL draft last year. He hired all the right people, it seemed like, in the offensive side of the ball. He drafted the right quarterback in Jaden Daniels, it seems, and he's making this defense, which, let's face it, is one of the most least talented defensive units just on paper. And right now they are ranking 15th in scoring defense. So in terms of the output, they're about league average with, maybe bottom third in terms of overall talent on defense. So he's elevating the defense. He hired the right people to handle the offense. The culture is clearly working here in Washington. So I think Dan Quinn should be in consideration as much as anybody for Coach of the Year at this point. So let me know down there in the comments section, what is the percent chance that Dan Quinn walks away with the Coach of the Year award in the NFL this year? Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance he gets it, to 100, meaning he's definitely 100%, no matter what happens, he's going to win this trophy. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for this week's Commanders Report Mailbag. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I'll see you guys later, and until next time, go raise some hail. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate you guys sticking with me here. Joey and I have got some other work we need to attend to here before we leave the office today. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Still over 270 people watching around the world. So we're going to be back on Sunday for Commanders versus Bears. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because it's going to be a lot of fun on Sunday for our watch party. It's going to be me and Joey here breaking it all down with you guys, live reacting to everything that happens in this football game, whether it's Jaden Daniels, whether it's Cooper Kupp, oh, not Cooper Kupp, whether it's Marcus Mariota. And we do have a super chat coming in from Omar's Burner, $2 super chat. And we'll get to this here in just a second once Joey gets it up. And we'll finish up today's show with this question. Are you having trouble with the software? Sounds good. There it is. So Omar's Burner coming in with a $2 super chat to finish up today's show. I see a question here before. So there's Omar's. We got another question that I want to get to here that I think is a good question. But Omar's Burner says, hey, Jack, thoughts on a Washington Cup deal? Don't think he's going to go to Washington. Don't think Washington is particularly interested in adding a receiver. Their offense is already awesome. And they have other roster holes that they need to address in the draft in future years. So I don't necessarily think they're willing to give up a day 2 draft pick for a receiver that they honestly don't need. But we got another question here from the game plan. It says, do you think that Jaden Daniels' injury will affect the Rookie of the Year race? Depends how long he's out. I don't think he's going to be out too long. So if he's out a week, I don't think it affects it too much. If he's out 3-4 weeks and Caleb Williams continues to shine in Chicago, it's going to affect the race a little bit. So if it's just this week, if he doesn't miss any time, it definitely won't affect it. But he pretty much missed an entire game against Carolina, Joey, so that has to be factored in as well. Honestly, the game plan, I don't think it affects it too much. If Jaden keeps playing at the rate that he's playing for an entire season and he misses 1 or 2 games, I still think he's going to be Rookie of the Year. And right now, I still think he's the clear favorite to walk away with that trophy at the end of the year. Okay, that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We'll see you guys later. And until next time, go raise some hell.